Welcome to ISO 27001, 2022 Internal Auditor Step by Step. Over the next 20 minutes, we'll walk through the complete process of conducting internal audits of an information security management system. You'll learn audit principles, how to plan and prepare for audits, define the scope, create audit checklists, conduct interviews and observations, collect and analyze evidence, write the audit report, and drive continuous improvement. The course uses TechSolutions Inc. as a practical case study throughout. Let's get started. Let's begin with the foundations. Internal auditing is a systematic and independent evaluation of an organization's information security management system. Understanding the principles, audit types, and the auditor's role is essential before conducting any audit. Before diving into the audit process, here are the core concepts every internal auditor must understand. An internal audit, also called a first-party audit, is conducted by the organization's own trained auditors who are independent of the functions being audited. The purpose is to assess whether the ISMS conforms to ISO 27001 requirements and the organization's own security policies. Internal audits identify gaps and weaknesses before external auditors or incidents expose them. ISO 27001 audits are underpinned by 6 core principles. Integrity demands honesty and objectivity. Confidentiality requires protecting sensitive information access during the audit. Fair presentation means reporting findings accurately and completely. Due professional care calls for diligence and judgment. An evidence-based approach ensures conclusions rest on verifiable facts. And independence keeps auditors free from bias or conflicts of interest. The audit cycle provides a structured framework that guides the entire process. It begins with planning and preparation, moves through execution where evidence is collected and analyzed, continues to reporting where findings are documented, and concludes with follow-up actions and management review. This cycle repeats continuously, driving ongoing improvement of the ISMS. A nonconformity is a finding where a requirement of ISO 27001 or the organization's internal policies is not being met. Nonconformities are classified as major, where a control is absent or completely ineffective, or minor, where a control exists but has gaps. Each nonconformity requires a corrective action plan with clear ownership and deadlines. Here is the complete audit cycle that guides the internal auditor from start to finish. The cycle begins with preparation and planning. You define the audit scope, develop a detailed audit plan with timelines and resource allocation, prepare your tools and techniques, and create a comprehensive audit checklist. The course provides templates for each of these deliverables, tested on the TechSolutions case study. Next, you conduct the audit itself. This starts with pre-audit meetings and an opening meeting to set expectations, then moves into the execution phase where you perform document reviews, conduct interviews, observe processes in action, and collect evidence systematically. Each technique serves a specific purpose in building a complete picture of ISMS effectiveness. After collecting evidence, you analyze your findings, categorize them into areas of compliance, partial compliance, and non-compliance, and write a structured audit report. The closing meeting presents these findings to management and stakeholders, opening a dialogue about priorities and next steps. The cycle concludes with follow-up actions and recommendations, management review of audit outcomes, and the implementation of corrective actions. This is where the audit drives real change, turning findings into improvements that strengthen the ISMS over time. Now let's move into audit preparation. Thorough preparation is the foundation of every successful audit. This section covers defining the scope, creating the audit plan, selecting your tools and techniques, and building a comprehensive audit checklist. The first step is defining the scope of the audit. A well-defined scope ensures your efforts are focused and efficient. Start by identifying which processes, departments, and information assets will be examined. Focus on areas that are most critical to the organization's operations and most vulnerable to security threats. For TechSolutions, this meant their software development lifecycle, client data management, cloud storage, and access controls. Engage stakeholders early. Consult with department heads, IT staff, and senior management to ensure the scope is comprehensive and aligned with the organization's strategic goals. These discussions promote ownership and help identify areas that might otherwise be overlooked. Factor in regulatory requirements, findings from previous audits, and current risk assessments. If prior audits identified gaps in incident response, those areas should receive focused attention in your scope. Regulatory obligations may also mandate coverage of specific controls. Document the scope clearly and get it approved. The scope directly influences everything that follows: your audit plan, checklist, resource allocation, and timeline. A vague scope leads to an unfocused audit. The course provides a scope definition template that covers all the essential elements. Step 2 is creating a detailed audit plan. This table shows the key components every audit plan should include. Every audit plan starts with clear objectives and criteria. The objectives define what you aim to achieve. For example, verifying compliance with specific ISO 27001 clauses or assessing the effectiveness of particular controls. The criteria are the benchmarks against which you'll evaluate the ISO 27001 standard itself, organizational policies, and any applicable legal requirements. The schedule maps audit activities across a realistic time frame. In the TechSolutions case study, the audit was structured across 6 weeks, with each week dedicated to a specific domain: data management, software development, access controls, cloud storage security, compliance, and incident response. This structured approach ensures comprehensive coverage without overwhelming any single department. Assign team members to specific audit areas based on their expertise. The lead auditor coordinates the overall effort, while specialized auditors handle their domains: an IT security auditor for technical controls, an access control specialist for authentication and authorization, and a compliance auditor for legal and regulatory requirements. Specify the data collection methods for each area. Different audit domains require different techniques. Document reviews for policy compliance, interviews for understanding process implementation, system testing for technical controls, and observation for verifying that documented procedures are actually followed in practice. Step 3 is equipping yourself with the right tools and techniques. Let's compare the key evidence-gathering approaches. On the technique side, auditors rely on 4 primary methods. Document review examines policies, procedures, and records for compliance. Interviews gather qualitative insights directly from personnel. The course walks through a detailed interview between lead auditor Alex and department heads at TechSolutions. Observation lets you verify that documented procedures are actually followed in daily operations. And system inspection provides hands-on examination of the IT infrastructure. On the tools side, modern auditors use vulnerability scanners to detect software and network weaknesses, static and dynamic application security testing tools for code-level and runtime analysis, CM systems for real-time security event monitoring, and digital evidence management systems to catalog and store all audit evidence securely. TechSolutions demonstrated a 98% patch compliance rate through these technical assessments. Now let's move into the execution phase, actually conducting the audit. This section covers the opening meeting, audit execution techniques, collecting and analyzing evidence, and the critical skills needed to perform an effective audit. Here is the step-by-step flow of conducting an audit, from the first meeting to evidence analysis. The execution phase starts with pre-audit meetings. These are crucial for engaging stakeholders, clarifying the scope and schedule, and setting expectations. The lead auditor explains the methodologies to be used, the types of information and access needed, and answers any questions. This early engagement alleviates apprehension and fosters a collaborative atmosphere. The opening meeting formally launches the audit. The lead auditor introduces the team, presents the audit objectives, and walks through the schedule. At TechSolutions, Alex Thompson conducted this meeting with the CISO Elena Rodriguez and all department heads present. The meeting included a question and answer session that built trust and alignment. Then you execute the audit plan using your prepared techniques, reviewing documents, conducting interviews, observing processes, and inspecting systems. Every piece of evidence is meticulously cataloged using a digital evidence management system. At TechSolutions, the team observed code review sessions, verified multi-factor authentication in the data center, and witnessed incident response drills. Finally, you analyze the collected evidence against ISO 27001 requirements and internal policies. Findings are categorized into areas of compliance, partial compliance, and non-compliance. TechSolutions achieved a 95% compliance rate, but the analysis revealed a 10% shortfall in incident response drill frequency and gaps in vendor management. Interviews are one of the auditor's most powerful tools. Here are the key techniques for conducting effective audit interviews. First, create the right setting. Conduct interviews in a private, comfortable environment free from interruptions. Start by explaining that the interview's purpose is constructive to enhance the ISMS, not to find fault with individuals. At TechSolutions, lead auditor Alex assured each interviewee that the goal was to strengthen organizational security, not to highlight personal shortcomings. Second, use structured questions that progress from general to specific. Start with broad questions about how the department implements security practices, then drill into specific controls, procedures, and evidence. This approach helps interviewees feel comfortable while ensuring you cover all necessary ground. Third, listen actively and follow up on anything unexpected. Some of the most valuable audit findings come from unscripted follow-up questions. When Sarah, the software development head at TechSolutions, mentioned challenges integrating security into agile sprints, the auditor explored this further and identified a real improvement opportunity. Fourth, document your findings immediately and verify your understanding before concluding. Summarize key points back to the interviewee to confirm accuracy. This prevents misinterpretation and creates a reliable evidence trail for your audit report. Let's move to the reporting and closure phase. After collecting and analyzing evidence, the auditor must translate findings into a clear, actionable audit report and present them effectively to stakeholders. Step 6 is writing the audit report. Here is the layered structure that makes audit reports clear and actionable. The report starts with an executive summary, a high-level overview designed for senior management. For TechSolutions, this summarized the 92% compliance rate, highlighted strengths in encryption and employee training, and flagged critical concerns in incident response and vendor management. The executive summary should be concise enough that a busy executive can understand the ISMS status in 2 minutes. The detailed findings section breaks down each area examined. What's compliant, what's partially compliant, and what's non-conforming. Each finding is supported by specific evidence collected during the audit. TechSolutions showed 98% compliance in access control and encryption, but only conducted 2 incident response drills in a year, while below best practice. Recommendations must be SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For TechSolutions, recommendations included increasing incident response drills to quarterly frequency, implementing a structured vendor security assessment framework, and enhancing employee training with real-world scenario content. Each recommendation has a clear owner and deadline. The appendices contain the supporting documentation, completed audit checklists, the evidence inventory, interview summaries, and technical scan results. This section ensures full transparency and provides a reference for follow-up audits. The course provides a complete audit report template modeled on the TechSolutions case study. Step 7 is conducting the closing meeting. This table shows the key agenda items and their purpose. The closing meeting begins with a structured presentation of findings. The lead auditor walks through the report section by section, presenting evidence and explaining implications. At TechSolutions, Alex presented the 94% compliance rate, praised the encryption and training programs, and detailed the gaps in vendor management and incident response frequency. The Q&A session is critical for ensuring findings are understood correctly. Stakeholders ask questions, seek clarifications, and discuss the implications. This dialogue prevents misunderstandings and ensures that the action plan addresses the right issues. At TechSolutions, department heads engaged actively, asking about specific evidence behind each finding. The meeting includes a discussion on priority and feasibility. Not all findings can be addressed simultaneously, so stakeholders agree on what to tackle first based on risk and available resources. TechSolutions agreed to prioritize quarterly incident response drills and vendor risk assessments as immediate actions. The meeting concludes with agreement on next steps. Each action item gets a clear owner and deadline, and a follow-up schedule is established. At TechSolutions, CISO Elena Rodriguez was designated as overall project lead, with department heads owning specific actions. Quarterly follow-up meetings were scheduled to track progress. Our final section covers the follow-up phase and continuous improvement. An audit is only valuable if its findings drive real change. This section covers corrective actions, management review, and building a culture of ongoing ISMS enhancement. Step 8 is implementing corrective actions. This diagram shows the life cycle from finding to verified resolution. The corrective action life cycle starts with identifying and prioritizing findings. Critical vulnerabilities get immediate attention, while lower-risk items are scheduled into medium and long-term plans. At TechSolutions, upgrading encryption on legacy systems was classified as immediate with a 3-month deadline, while embedding security culture was a year-long initiative. Next, plan specific corrective actions and assign clear ownership. Each action needs a responsible person, a realistic deadline, and defined success criteria. The CISO at TechSolutions served as overall project lead, with department heads owning specific actions within their domains. Then implement the planned actions. These range from technical fixes like patching vulnerabilities to process improvements like overhauling vendor management, to cultural initiatives like enhanced security awareness training. The course provides implementation tracking templates used in the TechSolutions case study. Finally, verify that each corrective action actually resolved the issue. A finding is not closed just because someone says it's fixed. You need evidence that the root cause was addressed and the risk is mitigated. Document the resolution and feed results back into the next audit cycle. Step 9 is the management review. Let's compare the key inputs and outputs of this critical process. Management review inputs include the latest audit findings and compliance rates, the status of corrective actions from previous audits, changes in risks and business context, effectiveness metrics for ISMS controls, and feedback from incidents and stakeholders. At TechSolutions, these inputs showed a 94% compliance rate with specific gaps in vendor management and incident response drill frequency. Management review outputs include decisions on policy changes and resource allocation, updated risk treatment plans, improvement objectives for the next period, and strategic direction for continuous improvement. At TechSolutions, the review led to adopting the PDCA cycle for structured improvements, integrating advanced threat detection tools, and developing a more robust incident response framework. Let's summarize the key takeaways from this internal auditor overview. First, preparation is everything. A well-defined scope, a detailed audit plan, and a comprehensive checklist are the foundation of every successful audit. Rushing into execution without thorough preparation leads to unfocused audits and missed findings. Second, use diverse evidence-gathering techniques. Document reviews alone won't give you the full picture. Combine them with interviews to understand how processes really work, observations to verify implementation, and technical tools to assess control effectiveness. The TechSolutions case study demonstrates each of these in practice. Third, your audit report must be actionable. Findings need specific evidence, clear severity ratings, and smart recommendations with assigned owners and deadlines. A report that sits on a shelf achieves nothing. It needs to drive real change in the organization's security posture. And fourth, auditing is a continuous cycle, not a one-time event. Follow-up actions, management reviews, and corrective actions turn audit findings into lasting improvements. In the full course, you'll get templates, checklists, and 3 detailed case studies to master the complete internal audit process. That wraps up our overview of the ISO 27001 Internal Auditor course. In the full Udemy course, you'll get 32 detailed lessons covering every aspect of the audit process, plus the TechSolutions case study, 3 additional case studies from fintech, healthcare, and manufacturing, audit plan templates, checklists, and report formats. Click the link below or scan the QR code to enroll and start your journey to becoming a confident internal auditor. Thank you for watching. If this overview was useful, subscribe for more IT governance, risk, and compliance content. See you in the next video.